Hello, fifth graders, it's Mrs. Tremblay. This is a repeat of what we did on December 1st, 12-1, during our whole group time. And then after our whole group time, I'll go ahead and go through the problems that we did in our small group time as well. So you can review this if you struggled with the material or if you were absent for the Zoom. You can go ahead and complete these tasks. First thing, you need to get your math spiral. And you need your workbook pages packet for this. So you can go ahead and press pause if you need to grab those. All right, in your spiral, the next clean page that you have should be page 11. So go ahead and write an 11 up at the top. And we're actually gonna turn our paper sideways. And we're gonna solve 3 different groups of problems. So all the way to the left side of your paper, I want you to write group 1, please. And we'll start with just that for now. All right, so we're gonna solve through some problems together. Group 1, letter A. We're gonna solve the problem 9/10 minus 2/3. All right, now when we look at this problem here, I look at my denominators, they don't match. I need to make them match in order to solve this. And when I look at 10 and 3, the first number that 10 and 3 would have in common, the LCM, if I counted by them, is 30. So this is a problem where I would multiply 9/10 by the opposite fractions denominator, which is 3, and 2/3 by the opposite fractions denominator, which is 10. So the problem I'm solving is 27/30 minus 10 times 2 is 20/30. Now that my denominators match, I can go ahead and solve that. 27 minus 20 is 7, and my denominator stays the same. 7/30 is my answer. All right, the next one in this, I'm gonna write it right underneath. Letter B is 2/9 plus 1/7. 2/9 plus 1/7. All right, when I look at 9 and 7, like I see, I can't multiply 7 by something to get 9. And the LCM of 9 and 7 is 63. That's the first multiple they'd have in common if you counted by them. That means I have to multiply this by 7/7, the opposite fractions denominator, and this by 9/9. That's the opposite fractions denominator. My new fractions are 14 over 63 plus 9 over 63. And we're supposed to add these together. 14 plus 9 is 23, and 63 stays the same. I should ask myself, is there a number that goes into 23 and 63 other than 1? And there's not, so that is in simplest form. All right, so that's group 1. I'm gonna draw a little squiggly line. I'm gonna have 3 groups total. So right in the middle here, we're gonna write group 2. We're gonna solve 2 problems, and this is just a new group. We'll compare our groups at the end. All right, the first problem I want you to solve in letter A is 9/14 minus 2/7. And I didn't mention it, but I figure you know the routine by now. You can be pausing and trying these on your own, or if you're not comfortable yet with trying them on your own, then just solve them right with me. For group number 2, these are gonna have some things in common that we'll discuss in a little bit, but I see 14 and I see 7 as my denominators. And when I think about what the LCM is, the first number that they have in common if I count by them, it's not the result of 14 times 7. So I would not multiply this by 7/7 and this by 14/14 because I recognize that 7 times 2 is 14. 7 is a factor of 14. So when that happens, we only have to change 1, and you should only be changing 1 of them. So my new problem is 9/14 because it doesn't change, minus 2 times 2 is 4, and 7 times 2 is 14. So I have 9/14 minus 4/14. 9 minus 4 is 5. My denominator stays the same. There's not a number that goes into both 5 and 14 other than 1, so we're good to go. All right, letter B. I want you to write down 3/28 plus 3/4. 3/28 plus 3/4. Again, for this one, 4 is a factor of 28. So I can multiply 4 by 7 to get 28. So I only need to change this one. So my new problem, 3/28 is gonna stay the same, but 3/4, I'm gonna rewrite it as 3 times 7 is 21/28. 3 plus 21 is 24, and I have 24/28. Now this is a good example of a Khan Academy type problem that you saw the other day. If you typed in 24/28 for your answer, it would actually mark it wrong because this is not in simplest form. That means there's a number that will go into 24 and 28. The GCF is what I'm looking for, the greatest common factor. And with 24 and 28, the greatest common factor is 4. So I need to divide them each by 4. And 24 divided by 4 is 6, and 28 divided by 4 is 7. So for letter B, the answer you should actually give is 6/7, because there's not a number other than 1 that would divide into both 6 and 7. All right, we have one more group. I'm going to draw my little squiggly line and write down group 3. Group 3, you should write this too. And we're going to solve 2 problems in this as well. All right, so first problem, letter A, is 5/8 minus 1/12. 5/8 minus 1/12. Okay, when I look at this, I know that I can't multiply 8 by something to get 12. And the the LCM of this is not actually 96. I wouldn't take 8 and 12 and multiply those together. That's not the first number that they'd have in common if I counted by them. That's what the LCM basically is. When I look at 8 and 12, if I counted by 8s and I counted by 12s, the first number they would have in common is 24. 8, 16, 24, 12, 24. So instead of multiplying this by 12 over 12 and this by 8 over 8, I'm going to multiply it by the number that would give me a denominator of 24. So we said it took 3 8s to get 24, and it took 2 12s to get to 24. So my new fractions would be 15 24ths minus 2 24ths. And 15 minus 2 is 13, and my denominator does not change. And there's not a number other than 1 that divides into 13 and 24, so we know that we are in simplest form. All right, letter B. Oops, sorry, I keep bumping this. Letter B, I'd like you to solve 11/30 plus 6/45. 11/30 plus 6/45. Now maybe you're thinking, oh my gosh, Mrs. Tremblay, I do not want to multiply 30 by 45 and 45 by 30. Good news, you don't have to. And you can't multiply 30 by something to get 45, so we do have to change both of these. But I want you to look at the 30 and 45 and ask yourself, if I counted by 30 and if I counted by 45, what's the first number they would have in common? Well, 45 plus 45 is 90. And if I count by 30, 30, 60, 90, I can get there. 90 is the first number they'd have in common if you counted by them. That's going to be my denominator. In order to make 45 90, I would have to multiply it by 2. And in order to make 30 90, 30, 60, 90, I would have to multiply by 3. So my new fractions are 33 90ths plus 6 plus 2 is 12 90ths. And when you do 33 plus 12, you get 45 90ths. Now when I see 45 90ths, remember how we said 45 times 2 is 90? Wouldn't that mean that 45 plus 45 is 90? So I would not type in for an answer 45 90ths, I would type in 1/2 for my final answer. All right, so that is what we did in our whole group time. I am going to go ahead and continue on to our small group time. If you only missed the whole group Zoom, then you're good. If you missed both, then I need you to grab your Unit 1 workbook page packet, and you're going to turn to page 28 in your workbook page packet. So turn to page 28 in your workbook page packet. We didn't do all of these problems. We did some of these problems. So we're going to do the ones right now that we did in class. All right, we started off and we did number 7 today. We did 6 3/4 minus 4 1/2. And it was noticed that this is a group 2 kind of problem from the ones that we just did. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Here we go. So, meaning I don't have to change both of these. I can just multiply 2 by 2 to get 4. So I would change this to multiplying it by 2 over 2. So my real problem I'm solving is 6 3/4 minus 4 and 1 times 2 is 2/4. When you subtract your fractions, 3/4 minus 2/4 we can do. That's 1/4. And 6 minus 4 is 2. And I don't have anything improper, and everything's in simplest form, so we are good to go. All right, we also did number 8. So again, you can pause me and try number 8. or you can just work right along with me. This is a group 2 kind of problem as well, because I can multiply 3 by 3 to get 9. So let's do that. I'd multiply that by 3 over 3. So my new problem is 4 2/9 plus 1 6/9. All right, so let's add our fractions together. 2/9 plus 6/9 is 8/9, and 4 plus 1 is 5, and we're good. Nothing has to be simplified. The last problem up top that we did today is 3 1/6 minus 1 1/7. This one was a group 1 kind of problem because I can't multiply 6 by something to get 7, and there's not a lower value other than 42. So the LCM of this is 42. So that means I need to multiply 1/6 by 7 over 7 and 1/7 by 6 over 6 and to get our new fractions. So this would be 3 and 1 times 7 is 7 over 42 minus my 1 stays. 6 times 1 is 6 and 7 times 6 is 42. So 7 over 42 minus 6 over 42, that is 1 over 42. And 3 minus 1 is 2. So we have 2 and 1 over 42. And that is simplest form. All right, we also solved the problems on the bottom of this page, the line plot. This is also referred to as a dot plot, just so you know, because of the dots. And we did these two together in small group time. It says, use a line plot for problems 16 and 17. Every week, Mr. Park asks for about a pound of potato salad at the deli. The line plot shows the actual weight of the salad the deli worker has given him for the past several weeks. So I guess just think about if you've ever been at the deli counter, and let's say you're gonna get some turkey, and you say, I'd like a pound of turkey. It doesn't always come out to be exactly a pound, okay? Sometimes it's a little bit less or a little bit more. And they might say, is it okay if it's a little bit over? Or is it okay if it's a little bit under? Because it's tough to get it to be exactly that. So that's just what this is talking about. Number 16 says, what is the difference between the greatest and least weights shown on this graph? The first thing you need to know is what difference means, what operation. And difference means we're subtracting. So if it asks you what's the difference between the greatest and the least weights, that means they want you to subtract the highest weight and the lowest weight. So when you look at this graph, this is just like a number line, and when you're on a number line, the farther right you go, the greater the values. So I want to know the greatest value that has a dot above it, which would be the 1.5. That's my greatest value. If I want to find the difference between the greatest and least, I'm going to subtract the lowest value with a dot above it. So the farthest number left is 0, but 0 doesn't have a dot above it. 3/4 does. That's the lowest value I would subtract, because that number actually happened because it has a dot above it. So I need to do 1.5 minus 3/4. This right here is a group 2 problem because I can multiply 2 by 2 to get 4. So I only need to multiply this 1/2. So my new problem would be 1 and 1 times 2 is 2/4 minus 3/4. And maybe you're noticing, hey, I can't take 3/4 away from 2/4, I have to borrow. You do. So this 1 will become 0, and I would add 4/4 to 2/4. So what I have left is 6/4 minus 3/4. And 6 minus 3 is 3. My denominator doesn't change. So 3/4 of a pound. LB is the abbreviation for pound. All right, last one. For 3 of the weeks, Mr. Park received less than a pound. What is the combined weight of the salad for these 3 weeks? Give your answer as a mixed number. So it says that 3 weeks, it happened where it was less than a pound. Here's a pound. Less than a pound would be to the left of that. And do you see how there are 3 dots to the left of that? Yep. So it wants to know the combined weights of this, this, and this. Combined means we're going to add. So I want to add these 3 values. Well, this dot is worth 3/4. This dot is worth 7/8. And this dot is worth 7/8. So I would be adding those 3 fractions together. Now my commutative and associative properties work for this problem because it's addition. It works for fractions as well, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to use my associative property, and I'm going to group 7/8 and 7/8 together because their denominators match. That means I can just do 7 plus 7 is 14 and keep my 8. Now I'll add the 3/4 to that. This is like a group 2 problem because I can multiply 4 by something to get 8. I can multiply 4 by 2 to get 8. That's what you should do. You don't need to use 32. 32 is not the LCM, 8 is. So my new problem is 14/8 plus 3 times 2 is 6/8. 14 plus 6 is 20. My denominator stays. So we have 28ths. It does say to give your answer as a mixed number. So I can count up from 8 or by 8s to 28, 16. I can fit 2 of them in there. And from 16 to 20, it takes 4. So I have 2 4/8, which is a big no-no in my book, right? We know the 4/8 is really 1/2. So I would say 2 1/2, and the unit is pounds. So I'm going to write LBS, 2 1/2 pounds. And that's what you missed. See you soon.